At a family gathering, my husband handed me divorce papers claiming I cheated based on fake photos. It took months to uncover his mother's plot to tear us apart. I, a 25-year-old female, got divorced from my husband Zach, a 27-year-old male, this year over false allegations. I always suspected his mother was involved, but my suspicions were proven true due to one mistake of hers. 6 months ago, I thought Zach had received that information about her too, but to my surprise, he only found out now and is in a big fix. Zach and I had known each other since childhood, as we lived in the same neighborhood. Our neighborhood was infamous because many low-income families found shelter there. My parents were facing tough times due to losing their jobs, so to cut costs, they moved there with me and my younger sister. Zach's family had lived there for a long time. His mother was into substances and hence stayed at her parents' house, leaving Zach in their care with his biological father nowhere to be found. Zach was a senior to me at school and an extremely bright student, so he helped me and my sister in return for me helping him with his chores. This is how our parents got to know about our friendship. A few years later, Zach graduated and moved out for college. He got some funds from his grandparents and covered the rest with a scholarship. His mother, who nobody knew what she did for work, was always away and didn't even bid him farewell. Zach used to FaceTime me every now and then from college, explaining how things worked on the other side of the city, but the calls started to decrease over time. I made a lot of effort to stay in touch, but realizing there were none from his side, I backed off. Soon after, I got a text from him, and he dumped me via text. Dealing with the breakup of such a long relationship was hard, but I bounced back and worked extremely hard at school. My parents, on the other hand, had started doing well with their jobs and were getting permanent positions. It was now a matter of a year or two before we moved out of that place. Zach's mom had been bad-mouthing us all around the neighborhood, accusing us of getting money from illegal activities. After a few altercations with her, my parents decided to expedite the moving process. 3 years later, my college organized a talk with a rising young entrepreneur whose business was booming, and I was asked to moderate the session. When I read the guest list, I realized it was none other than Zach. We attended the talk and went for coffee to catch up. He told me about everything, including how his mother had married an extremely rich man at work who adopted him and funded his business. I told him about my portfolio, and he offered me a job. Considering it too awkward, I declined the offer at first but later decided to join after his repeated insistence. Things were going extremely well for me work-wise, and over the next 6 months Zach and I grew closer. One night, when everyone except Zach and me had left, he proposed to me, saying that he regretted breaking up with me and didn't want to risk it again by just dating. I was high on emotions and said yes. The next day we informed everyone, but his mother wasn't particularly pleased. He arranged a lunch for us to get to know each other, which ended up being a disaster. His mother was sweet in front of him, but made mean remarks at me when we were alone, calling my family and me gold diggers. I reminded her that we left the neighborhood by working hard and not choosing the easy way out by marrying a rich man. I told Zach about his mother's comments later, which he asked me to ignore. Over the next few months, mine and Zach's relationship soured because of his mother filling his ears and him believing much of it. I asked him to trust me if he wanted us to stay together, and after a lot of ups and downs, we eloped and got married. His mother was not happy about missing the wedding but kept up the facade at the reception. Zach and I bought a house and began our married life there. One Sunday, I got a call from my sister asking for some seed funding for her startup. I told her I'd think about it and cut the call. Zach heard me talking and asked what it was regarding. I told him I was going to give my sister some money from my savings for her startup. He offered to pay the amount in full, no questions asked. because we were a family now. I was touched by his gesture and agreed. Over the next few months my sister's business hit rock bottom, and Zach started to worry about his investment in her project. His frustration was shown in his distant and rude behavior with me at home. The fights over small issues increased to the point where we stopped talking to avoid tension. The stressful state of our marriage peaked when he forgot our first anniversary, and I decided to stay with my parents for a while. Zach and I had planned a small get-together post-anniversary for our family, and had already planned and paid for everything, so we decided to act as perfect hosts. I got a call from Zach's mother during this asking me to pack my bags because she had found the perfect girl for her son. I didn't entertain her and asked her to get a reality check. She obviously didn't like it and cut the call. I returned to my house to set up for the gathering and talk to Zach about his mother. Zach was drunk and didn't respond to anything I said. The next day, the tension between Zach and me was so clear that even my distant cousins asked if anything was wrong. I tried to talk to him, but he shrugged my hand and left. He came back with an envelope saying it had proof of me cheating on him. I was shocked and decided to open the envelope. It had divorce papers and some inappropriate pictures of me with another man. I couldn't think of how this was possible, but still tried to explain to Zach that it wasn't true. He didn't listen and asked me to leave, adding that he should have listened to his mother and not married into a family of gold diggers. I couldn't comprehend at all, so my sister decided to take me and we left. I went back to my parents' house and cried, showing them the pictures and trying to explain that I hadn't been cheating on Zach and had no idea what these pictures were. They consoled me, and my sister, after looking at the pictures, told us that they were clearly doctored. Everything made sense, and we decided to talk to Zach the next day. The next day, before my sister and I could leave, Zach knocked on the door. I thought he must have felt something fishy too, but instead he was there to ask me to sign the papers as soon as possible. We both sat down and I explained to him that I didn't cheat and that the images seemed fake because even my face wasn't clearly visible. He listened and then replied that since he had seen the photos, he had lost all trust in me and wanted a divorce. I was taken aback and tried to convince him, but he asked me to sign the papers or he'd file a fraud case against my sister for stealing his money since we hadn't drafted a contract. I could hear my heartbeat in my head and asked him to please sort it out instead of ending our relationship. I was shattered but didn't wish to mess with him because of his status, so I didn't read the papers and signed the divorce documents. I also realized I was 2 months pregnant during this, and my lawyer decided to ask for child support from Zach on top of the alimony he was giving me, which I was unaware of. When we came out of the courtroom, Zach came to me and instead of congratulating me on the child, said he was glad we were ending the relationship because we were gold diggers. I was heartbroken by his behavior, so I didn't respond. Over time, Zach and I got civil with each other and decided on shared custody of the child, which Zach was okay with, while his mother started demanding full custody in return for more money. I was done with her, so I emailed both her and Zach that my child wasn't for sale and I would press harassment charges on her if she tried anything again. Zach, reading this, sternly told his mother to stay out of it. I knew the inappropriate pictures were fake, but had no idea who could have created or planted them until I heard from a friend of Zach's that his mother was trying to convince him to marry a girl in her circle. Zach was pretty bummed out about the divorce and ignored his mother, but now everyone knew how desperate she was because she showed up at his office daily for the past 2 to 3 weeks. Upon hearing this, I put two and two together and realized it must be my mother-in-law who created those images to create a rift between me and her son. On one hand, I was infuriated by her and wanted to get even, but on the other hand, I wanted to not let it bother me for the sake of my child, so I decided to let it pass until the right moment. 6 months into our divorce proceedings, I received an email from my mother-in-law. It was sent to the girl my mother-in-law was trying to get Zach to marry, and she accidentally added my email. The email was a plan to get all of Zach's money, with instructions to this new girl on how to woo him because my mother-in-law was on the verge of divorce from her husband and knew Zach wouldn't finance her extravagant lifestyle. She signed off with her number, so I called her and asked what she thought she was doing. After confirming I was indeed his ex-wife, she confirmed and started explaining her mother's plan. I asked her to tell me everything. After 2 hours of chat, I had everything I needed. I contacted Zach, who was still on good terms with me due to the custody arrangements. I arranged to meet him and showed him the email along with all the previous emails his mother had sent to the new girl. I pointed out how his mother was trying to destroy his life by manipulating women for money. He was shocked and furious. He couldn't believe I had been telling the truth the whole time and that his mother had fooled him. I told him I wanted to start fresh because I still cared for him, but I wanted him to be aware of the truth. We both agreed to work on our marriage again. My mother-in-law attempted to call me a few days later, but I didn't respond. I kept the email as evidence of her manipulation. When she called Zach, he screamed at her saying she ruined his life and told her he was cutting ties for good. I couldn't be happier because it meant we could finally heal. We finally got the justice we needed, and I am now happily married to Zach once more. Update 1. In the wake of a tumultuous divorce, my life took a surprising turn. After my ex-husband Zach and I had endured months of distrust fueled by his manipulative mother, the truth finally came to light. It all began when I received an unexpected email mistakenly sent to me, outlining her elaborate scheme to control Zach's life and finances through manipulation and deceit. With this newfound information, I reached out to Zach. The once familiar comfort of our relationship was now strained, but I was determined to mend the rift that had formed. Meeting him in a quiet cafe, I presented the damning evidence emails detailing his mother's machinations, all designed to tear us apart. Zach's expression shifted from disbelief to anger as he processed the betrayal. That day, something shifted between us. The realization that we had both been pawns in his mother's game reignited the bond we once shared. As we spoke about our past and the love that had brought us together, with a renewed sense of purpose, we decided to start fresh, determined to rebuild our relationship on trust and honesty. We navigated through the complexities of shared custody and co-parenting, all while reconnecting on a deeper level. My heart swelled with hope as we gradually healed. In the months that followed, our commitment to one another only strengthened. We faced challenges together, creating a loving environment for our child. The peace we found was palpable, a stark contrast to the chaos that had once dominated our lives. We learned to lean on each other, fostering a relationship that blossomed with trust and understanding. Ultimately, our journey led us back to each other more resilient than before. We were no longer just husband and wife. Together we crafted a new chapter, one filled with love, laughter, and the promise of a brighter future. Update 2. As the months passed, Zach, we navigated the complexities of co-parenting, finding joy in our daughter's laughter and milestones. With every weekend spent together, the memories of our past struggles faded, replaced by a sense of hope and renewal. Zach's relationship with his mother remained strained, but he stood firm in his decision to cut ties with her toxic influence. He focused on his career and his newfound commitment to family, channeling his energy into providing for us while fostering a nurturing environment. One crisp autumn afternoon, as leaves danced around us, Zach took my hand and led me to a picturesque park. Underneath the vibrant canopy of colors, he knelt before me, a small velvet box in his hand. "I know we've faced storms, but I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me again?" Tears welled in my eyes as I realized how far we had come. Yes, 1,000 times yes. I exclaimed, the weight of our past lifting as we embraced. Our wedding was intimate, surrounded by close friends and family who had supported us through our journey. Vows were exchanged, filled with promises of love, trust, and unwavering support. We danced under the stars, a celebration of our second chance at love, surrounded by those who believed in us. As we settled into our new life together, we made a pact to communicate openly and face challenges as a united front. With every passing day, we cultivated a partnership built on trust, understanding, and unconditional love. In the end, our story was not just about overcoming betrayal, but about rediscovering the strength within ourselves and each other. Together we embraced the future, hand in hand, ready to face whatever life had in store. Our love story, once fraught with turmoil, blossomed into a beautiful testament to resilience and hope, proving that sometimes love can indeed conquer all.